All right, welcome back to another episode of It's Me, Chris Brown. And today I have an incredible friend with me, somebody I'd class as a mentor, a brother, and an incredible leader of men, actually. He's been a leader of men in various disguises and capacities over the last 30 years. From professional sports to leadership, to retreats, to you name it. He is a self-growth, I'd say self-development, but he's a self-growth
junkie,
deeply reflective, and somebody I feel very grateful and blessed to have in my life and someone I class as a friend. So, Craig, welcome back. It's great to have you.
Chris, thanks for the introduction. I feel a bit under pressure now. I might also add that I was your client a few years ago as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually funny, that whole circle, because it was a whole ecosystem of how we came into contact and the webs of connection and threads and where we are today.
Yeah.
We'll keep it sharp and snappy today. I know that you're doing a lot of leadership work, and I'm doing a little series on men's work, and I'm tapping into a lot of the men that I know. So recently, the recent version, I've had Matt Gunn, who you know, David Chambers, who you know. You're the third in the line of the men's series. What do you think it means to be good at being a man?
Wow.
Not just to throw that one in you.
What do I think it means to be good at being a man? I'd probably start by removing the word man. And the next step would be just reflecting on one's life and intuitively, but also based on what comes up and how the body speaks to us. You know, where we fall from grace, where we don't express love, where we hurt other people, where we hurt ourselves. Try to list or journal or bring insight to where we don't speak up, where we tell lies, where we distract ourselves from feelings, where we manipulate others to get what we want. So in essence, I think to move towards what it means to be a good man, we have to admit that some of the patterns we inherited growing up don't serve us. And create hurt for other people, especially the ones that are closest to us. The ones that are closest to us are the ones that trigger us the most and bring up our patterns. So I think, first of all, it's important to recognize and stop and say, hang on a minute. All right, there's various parts of myself that serve me, that I'm good at, that I'm talented at, that people love about me. But there's also areas that I don't love about myself and that people are pissed off within me. And then, so first step is realizing that. The second step is making the decision to do something about it. And then for me, the journey of self-discovery starts to happen, and the journey towards becoming a better man and transforming those patterns begins. But unfortunately, what I see, and it happened with me until I was about maybe 38, 39, is most men are so goddamn busy running away from themselves that when the question arises, am I a good man or not, they never admit that things need to change. So that's where I would start with that question.
It seems pretty common, and I think through social media and exposure to information now, that the ages are getting younger at which people are wanting to step into deeper work, there does seem to be a trend towards men in their late 30s that go through some, call it dark night of the soul crisis, that really begin to think, what the fuck is all this about?
Yeah.
And you say like running away from problems disguised as success, right?
Yeah.
Like building something or having a career or being very dominant in pursuit. What do you think is a sign for a man? Like, let's say a man was listening to this and they're kind of on the fringes of starting to want to grow.
Yeah.
Want to get to know themselves at a deeper level.
Yeah.
Want to deepen in their relationship. What would you suggest as a good place to start for a man who's kind of curious around, like, what else is there other than podcasts, books, mindset?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, even though there's beauty in all of it, the shift or the recognition that I'm going to have to fucking change here, it comes from a painful experience, as you know.
Yeah.
It's not like, mate, guys, let's fix this before we hit the pain. Well, that's not where the ego works, and the ego needs a painful experience in order to want to move away from that and to do something about that pattern. Unfortunately. But when we, as men and women and human beings, experience that midlife point, if you like, which could be 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, 60 even. And the void is big enough for us to do something about it. The first step could be reading, it could be doing things alone. But I think we've got to declare, Chris, to at least one other person that something isn't right and I have a desire to change. Unfortunately, a lot of men that I've known don't even get that far, and then they continue going down the slippery slope, the extreme of which is suicide. And if we come back from suicide, we've got severe depression, self-harm, distraction, alcoholism, porn addiction, violence in relationships, and so on and so on and so on. So the first two steps are feeling the pain, experiencing the void of the need to change and future potential and doing something different, and then sharing that and declaring to someone else, at least one, preferably a men's group, that, do you know what, I'm going to do something about this and I need some help with it.
And that also could just look like somebody that you respect on social media.
Yeah.
And you send them a message. Most people
Good point.
in this realm and in this work, if you were to send them a message, would at very least point you in the direction of some coaching or a resource or give you some insight into what to do next.
That's a very good point, that, because I do that when someone messages me on social media. So that's a good thing about social media.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just like you said, that acceptance that something feels wrong and opening up to someone about it.
Yeah.
I think is important. I think integrity is a word that I've built a relationship with more so. And the way that I would view integrity in the past might have been to, I'm a man of integrity. Like, I'm a trustworthy man. And the way that I view integrity right now is, am I operating in alignment with who I see myself in the world as?
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm out of integrity, it means I'm out of alignment.
Yeah.
What do you think about integrity in men? What do you think about that concept of like being in or out of integrity and having an awareness of it?
I want to talk about the truth, first of all, telling the truth.
That's big.
Which is obviously part of it. If you ask me what is the greatest practice a man could do to transform, it's telling the truth. And it's the fucking hardest.
Yeah.
Because we want to be perceived in a certain way. We want to be perceived as being a great human being, a great leader, Mr. Perfect. I'm fine. I do no wrong. I'm not bad. I'm not evil. And it's fucking hard, Chris. And I know in my family, I came through without blame, because it goes back generations. I came through a family system of unspoken truths, pretending everything's okay, lies, triangulation. And what I mean by that is, if I go and have a chat with my mum, she's complaining about my brother. If I go to my brother, he's complaining about my mum. If I go to my niece, she's complaining about her brother. If I go to my nephew, he's complaining about his dad. And of course, I'm in that dynamic and getting caught up in it.
Yeah.
So I'm not perfect. Sometimes patterns come up and I find myself within an intimate relationship saying something and then immediately say, what the fuck have I just lied for? Thankfully, I can hold my hand up now and say, I don't know why I did that, but I just told a fucking lie. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't do that for years and years. And I just lied through my back teeth, especially at the seed of any intimate relationship from the age of 15 all the way up until the present day, where there's a seed right at the beginning of any relationship. And because I want to be perceived in a certain way, I tell lies, whether that's about my past or my family or my age even, to impress the other person because I want them to love me and to need me. And then it just kicks you in the arse further along the line in that relationship. So for me in my life, telling the truth, showing the truth, unspoken truth, boundaries, calling people out if I don't agree with something from a place of love, it's the biggest route to freedom as a man, and it's the biggest route to transformation that I know. Mm. Plus all the embodiment exercises that you and I have done, but telling the truth is a big, big, big part of it, mate.
Thanks for being so honest. And most people would, the funny thing is that most people wouldn't admit, even if they're listening to you, I can't believe he's admitting that he's lied to people.
Yeah.
But it's something we all do. You know, we fluff up stories. You know, we make things sound better than they are. Sometimes we make things sound worse than they were.
Yeah.
You know?
I have some clients, Chris, that most of my clients these days, one-on-one, they come to me for an immersion and then we continue on remotely. And when they come to see me within the first hour, we've just got 2 principles of working together. One is a 2-way confidentiality and the other one is tell the truth. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the fastest way to transformation.
Well, otherwise you're skirting around the reality, which is the truth of the situation. And it ends up in strategizing and trying to fix something that's not the actual reality.
Yeah.
It's brave. It's courage to be like, oh, fuck, like this is actually, here's who I see I am.
Yeah.
But here's the reality of who I am.
Yeah.
Here's who I projected the world. Here's who I actually am.
It is hard because we need to feel safe as well. And it's not only about verbalizing the truth, it's about being your truth, really.
Revealing.
Exactly. Whether that's a tear or an anxiety or an uncomfortable feeling or a feeling of joy, you know, the way you want to say it. It's just being truthful and radically honest and authentic. And for me, that's also a key aspect of leadership as well.
Yeah. Well, it's liberation, right? It liberates you from every time you tell a lie, it holds you.
Even me just sharing on camera that I've told lies, it's liberating for me.
100%.
Whereas in the early stage, it might have been shaming, but it's now at a stage of liberation. I didn't plan on saying that, but it's come through me, and I'm glad it's come through me.
Well, David Hawkins, I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work. He talks about energetic frequencies of emotional states, and guilt and shame are at the very bottom. And every time you live from lie, that's guilt and shame.
Heavy energy.
Heavy. And I believe the shift between the lowest frequencies and then the higher frequencies, I believe the midpoint is courage. And courage is that ability to go, hey, listen, here's who I really am.
And courage is also here. So when you get to courage, you can access more of the heart.
Oh, yeah. I think it's kind of fucked up how we do relationship in this world.
Yeah.
We project that we're better than we are. And then we have to uphold that. And within 90 days, everybody reveals who they are anyway.
Yeah.
And I almost think there's I don't know if you've ever seen 8 Mile, Eminem's movie.
No.
It was years ago, but in one of the battle raps, he's like in one of the finals and it's like, I am white. I am a fucking bum. I do live in a trailer with my mom. And he's like, I know everything you're going to say about me. And it was like a real turning point in the movie. And I think because he revealed all of his flaws, it took away the power of the person he was battle rapping against.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just such a liberation.
Yeah.
Like, let people see who you truly are. And then the love and connection that you get is deeply true.
For sure. Take off the mask.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, eh?
Very fucking easier said than done. And I know I can find myself in those patterns at times, you know, especially like the lies that I would inherently tell in my life are quote unquote not harmful, but they're not truths. They're like not necessarily a lie, but they're a withholding of truth, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a big practice in my life right now. Like, can I speak this in truth when I fear that love's going to be taken away?
And if you don't, your body will tell you so.
100%.
You'll know if you're out of alignment.
And if you have an intuitive partner, they will know.
100%. 1,000,000%. You see, it happens all the time in relationship, and it's happened to me. Those little lies, those little denials, little unspoken truths, they go on. And if you've got a partner that isn't strong with boundaries, she won't say anything. She won't call it. And then all of a sudden, there's a disconnect over days, over months and the years. And it all comes back to integrity.
Yeah.
It all comes back to keeping your word.
Restoring integrity.
Telling the truth.
Yeah, it's this ability to restore integrity. And constantly taking stock of where you are in your life and taking inventory of everything and where am I committed to stuff that I'm actually a no to?
Yeah.
Where am I saying no that's actually a yes in my life? Where am I entertaining things that aren't in alignment anymore?
Brilliant questions. And
you know, how can I bring this back into integrity? You know, I think decisiveness, this theory about the series about men's work, being decisive and clear is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Even when it's a fucking hard truth.
Yeah. I agree. Completely.
And I know with some of my clients now, you know, like in the business sector, like working with them in their business work, but I coach the individual. And I had a call with a client yesterday and he's been in my men's group. I've like held a bi-weekly men's call for like the last year and a half, just a practice call and a little share. And I'm like, I'm not fucking feeling you either way here. I feel your indecision. And what I would need to feel from you is bum, 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 if I was to feel you all in on this.
Yeah.
That's not something that I would ever be able to say probably truthfully in the past or even have an awareness of. And he woke up this morning, he was like, I've signed the contract, I'm going ahead.
Wow.
And I think we need that as men. We need men that are willing to tell us like, hey, I'm not fucking feeling your commitment here.
Yeah.
Because it has a ripple in all areas of their life. And if we're able to see it and we don't speak it, then we are complicit in it.
Yeah.
Like I would never allow one of my closest friends and brothers to like continue on a path that I felt was destructive for them. Even if that's my projection, I'd own it. Like, hey, my projection, but what I see here is this. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, that's the other side of love. That's the other side of brotherhood. That's the other side of friendship. which unfortunately isn't modeled very well to us growing up.
It's not.
It's the accountable side. You know, on one hand, Chris, I love you. You're fucking amazing. You're good at this and you're good at that. Let's go have some nice food. Mate, you're so fucking awesome. Give me a hug. And there's the other side. Bro, because I love you, I need to tell you this. I've been watching you. You're not fucking doing as you said. You're out of integrity. You need to sort yourself out, bro. Is that not loving?
Absolutely. 100% it is.
And that's missing from society. It's also missing from a lot of men's groups as well.
Yeah. I think what I've seen, the spiritual realm of men's work, it's like everyone's in a sweat lodge and just doing that side of things. And they're not in the practice of, there's embodiment, there's breath, there's spiritual practices, there's sacred practices. And then there's also fucking
relationships,
but also sharpness as well. Like we need sharpening.
Yeah.
We need, as men, we need it because we're inherently, I believe, lazy. You know, we will get away with things where we can. And I want the men to constantly sharpen me that are around me.
Me too.
Tell me what you see.
Yeah.
What am I not seeing here?
Me too. If a man doesn't do that with me, then unless he's a client or someone that wants support, what's the point in hanging out with him?
Yeah, I think it's about cultivating trust. And there's two things that I look for in connection now. It's like, do I trust this person? Do I feel safe? And it's like, if I don't trust them and I don't feel safe, then I'm not going to bring my best forward. Then they aren't going to get the best out of me. There's no point in having that relationship. And I need to know that if I bring something to a brother, that I bring it to them. Yeah. And as you talk about triangulation, it doesn't get fucking batted around.
Of course.
You know, because as men, we have stuff that we feel deeply shameful about.
Yeah, we do.
And we need to be able to be held in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, it's fucking telling the truth is so liberating, so freeing. On the other side of shame is truth. So if you feel anything in your life that you have shame around, share that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one for me when I guess when I started on the men's work journey. Apart from taking ecstasy in the clubs when I was 19, 20, 21, which I guess was my first exposure to love in a group of men. Apart from that, which I wouldn't change for the world, it opened me up. Probably my first real exposure to a men's group was in a yoga community in Thailand about, 16 years ago. And, but even then, I remember sharing shameful stories from childhood and teenage years and confusions around my sexuality and confusions around having sex with women and relating to women. And I remember feeling shamed. You know, it's almost as if I had this warrior in me that wanted to share it, but then, boom, the voice just shame. What have you just said? Yet the thing with shame is there's a beautiful quote. I can't remember. And somebody, shame dissolves when you verbalize it. And it's just, apart from the reactive shame that can sometimes be felt in my body when I'm judged by a woman, which can sometimes come up, you know, all the other stuff from childhood, from my past, things that I've done wrong in my past, things that I regret. There's no shame because it's out of me. It's left my body. It's in the fire. It's in the circle. It's just out into the ether. So talking about shame is tough, but with other men, when you're not judged for it, it's incredibly healing. Yeah,
I agree. And I do think I spoke on your podcast about this, like repair and reconciliation and like going back and like actually fucking putting things right.
Yeah.
You know, actually going back and having a conversation. If you feel a charge or a hook with somebody. I fell out with a fucking best friend of mine over a business thing and it's been eating at me recently. And there'll be a point where I reach out to him and I go, hey, listen, I want to put something right. We fell out over a business thing and we never spoke again. It was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
And
it's very sad.
because neither of us were able or willing to actually speak the parts where we were hurt or where we felt mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
Speak with love and truth.
Yeah.
And then and move beyond it. And
let's touch on that a bit more, because that reconciliation is a really fucking important part of this journey and healing, transformation, men's work, whatever you want to call it. One of the things that I do with my one-on-one clients, which I might end up turning into a group activity, is they come to me for 3 days without the phone. On the first day, it's about the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we do an inventory. It takes a long time. It's like looking at the life in 7-year blocks. We look at the polarity of support and challenge in each block. And then at the end of that process, we look at the themes, we look at how they've been shaped, we look at what they're grateful for. But one of the practices after that is I create 4 columns.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back in your life, who do you need to thank that you've not thanked?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you genuinely need to say sorry to that you've not said sorry to? Who do you need to set a boundary with and say no to, or create a different way of being with that person? And which people do you need to repair with and move through conflict? And it's a massive part of work. And it's a massive part of healing our nervous system too, Chris.
100%. Like, we don't understand the impact that stuff has on us.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to walk into a coffee shop and fear that you might bump into somebody, there's probably some repair that needs to happen there.
Yeah.
And it's fucking hard because my friend is a former addict in recovery, or whatever you want to, you know, whichever way you want to describe it. And he was, I'll have him on this podcast at some point, but he, openly, heroin and whatever.
Mm.
And he said, I always listen to him when he talks about repair, because he fucking had to do a lot of it and had to make a lot of amends. And he went into Walmart and he's like, "Can I speak to the manager?"
Wow.
He's like, "Hey, I stole from this store often. I wanted to apologize that. What can I do to make it right?" Sometimes the people would get it. They'd been in recovery and they'd be like, "You're free. You're good. Thank you." And other times they'd be shaming them and be like, "Get the fuck out and never come back."
Yeah.
And that's the hard part of it. It's like you could bring your desire to repair something to someone and be met with resistance. Not everyone's ready to receive that.
Of course.
But I think if we can own our part in that, and like you say, if we could take an inventory of our life and go, where are things,
Yeah.
I have a list, and sometimes when you're on your path, especially as a man, and you're blazing your trail and you're trying to better yourself in this world and you're trying to grow and develop and achieve and be successful, there are people that you can step on along the way.
Yeah.
And there's no, there's no thought around them being innocent in that. There maybe is a 50-50.
Yeah.
But I think if you're a man, like if you are a man who wants to deepen, wants to grow, wants to evolve, wants to develop, wants to become the best version of you, telling the truth, owning your shit, making amends.
Reconciliation is part of sorting your shit out.
100% it is, because it's cleaning up the
probably
mess.
the first step, Chris.
It's absolutely cleaning up the mess that you've left behind.
Yeah. And it's hard because we have to go into that with the possibility that we will be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
But in my experience, working with men, most of the time, the opposite happens.
Mm-hmm.
Men calling up an old PE teacher or calling up an old mentor or calling the granddad before he dies and just saying, "Hey, thank you."
Yeah.
Or a genuine sorry. No sorry, but a genuine sorry. Or setting a boundary. Or the fear, a brother one's a classic for me. The fear of ringing the brother on the way home, which is some of my clients do, that they haven't spoke for years. Something needs to happen. I could get rejected. And most of the time, the opposite happens.
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, bro, fuck, thank you so much. Let's meet." Reconciliation, hugs, love, reconnection. It's just wonderful when one of the two commits to that.
I think it's the righteousness, right? It's like when we have this strong desire to be right and an aversion to being wrong. It's like this thing of like, if I accept responsibility, then they'll finally think I am fucking wrong and I wasn't wrong, right? And it's like, we have to get over that.
Yeah.
And it's not about right or wrong. It's about repair.
Yeah.
And freedom and liberation.
And it's also about modeling something different. Like, I'll give you an example, Chris. Many men come to me and say, well, my dad's never hugged me. My dad's never said I love me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fair enough. That's tough as a little boy. That's tough. But mate, we can't be what we cannot see. And if your father's never seen that in his own father and his own grandfather and older men when he grew up, he's not going to repeat it. My next suggestion is go and fucking show your dad how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go and hug him. Go and tell him you love him. Just because you're the son doesn't mean that you can't model to your dad how to do it. You know?
It's beautiful.
That's an aspect of reconciliation. You know, taking the lead. If that's leadership, I don't know what is.
Well, yeah, it's like you could go and repair, reconciliate a relationship, and you don't know what thread of impact that has. You can, all right, like, so let's get tactical. If somebody has something, the first step is to just fucking write it out.
Mm.
Like, write out the reconciliation as if you were going to speak to that person.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to speak to them. If it's too much, it's too charged, it's too combative or too much conflict, write it out.
Yeah.
If you write that out, you often will see how the energy in the world shifts. It's funny, my friend Johnny, we were out on a walk and he was doing some reflection and he was going like, fuck, there's some stuff here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just write it out, man.
Yeah.
The next day, someone reaches out to him and say, hey, there was I mistreated you 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I'd like to say sorry. The next day. And we just had a conversation around it.
Yeah. Journaling, writing, letters is unbelievably powerful, Chris. If I may just share a practice that I do with my clients and hopefully people listening to this podcast will also do this. Even if you don't post the letter, I get a lot of my clients to do two things. So with mum, or the part of mum that didn't serve them, or the part of mum that, I don't know, was disappointed, you write a letter. So you write 2 letters to mum. Mm-hmm. Really, 2 letters to yourself. The first one starts like this. Dear mum, what I've never told you before is this. I'm most disappointed in X, Y, Z. Keep writing, feel it in the body. But you also write another letter. Dear mum, I may have never told you this. What I'm most grateful towards you is this. Boom, 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 boom. You do the same for dad.
Yeah.
You do the same for the brother that bullied you. Even if you never post that, it's incredibly healing for the nervous system.
It moves it in you. Poof. And that's like partially the distance is in you, you know, and your resistance is part of the problem.
Yeah.
And we don't see that, especially if we feel like we're being wronged.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, John's big on that, the mother letter. He's
no,
like,
it's hard.
The mother letter. Yeah.
It's fucking hard. And our unconscious tries every way not to do it. Oh, I've not done it yet. I could only write a sentence, but when we lean in, it's amazing.
Oh, I think it's often hardest for people to go towards all the things I'm grateful for and thank you for all the things you've done for me.
Yeah.
And leave all the other stuff. Sometimes it's easy for people to be like, you fucking wronged me and da-da-da-da-da.
Of course.
And
it's polarizing, isn't it?
Very, very.
Looking at both sides. It's really a big part of my work.
I think this is a big part of work that people don't really talk about. And I'm glad we got onto it actually, because it's in the 12 steps for a reason. Making amends is a huge part of the 12 steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think if all you did was like do an inventory of all the people that you have a conflict with, or you have let down, upset, overpromised and underdelivered. Yeah. You'd be surprised at how much energy is held in that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, just got a funny feeling in my body then, Chris. I was just remembering a retreat that I was on in the Isle of Wight years ago. It was about our relationship with the feminine, our relationship with women, different, grandma, mom, girlfriends, whoever, sisters, women in general. And I remember a big piece of work I did where there was about 30 odd women on this retreat. They were holding space for men. It was like a feminine container where men go into. And I remember we did a piece on reconciliation, and I calculated, I think, 10 significant relationships that I've been in from the age of 15 to the age of about 45.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 10 women out to symbolize those relationships, and I had to kneel in front of them and make eye contact and apologize to every single one of them. Fucking hell. It was so difficult.
I mean, that's a good thread. That's the thread that John will pull on with us. It's like make a list of all the intimate relationships you've had with women where you feel like you withheld your masculine gifts, where you didn't see the ways in which they tried to love you.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a number of other things, but those are the two things that stand out. Like, how can you acknowledge the ways in which they tried to love you that you didn't receive? And then how can you acknowledge the ways in which you withheld your masculine gifts from them? Your leadership, your structure, your devotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is important there's a tendency within men's work to do all the fancy stuff and the embodiment and the breath work and the practices and sometimes that can also
and the sweat lodges.
Yeah, and it can bypass this stuff,
For sure.
It really can.
100%.
And I think if you've got daughters, if you're a son, which, and you've got the blessing of your mum still being here, you're a brother.
Yeah.
I often look with clients, like, what are our leadership roles in the world, right? I'm a mentor. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother.
You're a friend.
A friend, yeah. Coach. There's so many different roles that we have, and with great responsibility. With leadership comes great responsibility.
For sure.
If you choose leadership and leadership chooses you. And I think with that is leading self before leading others. And leading self is brutal honesty with self.
Leading self has to come before leading others.
Absolutely.
It really does. And of course they can go in tandem, they can go in hand, but leading self, understanding self, understanding our gifts, understanding our shadows, understanding our unique way of expressing leadership. It's so critically important. It's so important. Fuck the classic texts on leadership, principles of leadership. It's fucking bullshit. Leadership, step one, is about knowing yourself. Knowing yourself. I have a document on my laptop, Chris. I update it every month. It took me years to compile it. And it's a self-awareness document. I've got on in there my mission statement, my family dynamics, the family system I grew up in, my attachment style, abusive patterns in my family, what I downloaded from my family that was good, my talents, the way I lead, my superpower, what I'm not good at, what I am good at, the way I communicate. And I'm just forever carving away at it. And it's just, we could say at the deepest core, who am I? All right, at the deepest core, maybe I could say energy, the source, whatever, but I've still got to live in this world. And if I don't define who I am as a leader, what my talents are, what gives me a sense of belonging, what gives me a sense of significance, where I can add most value into the world, then I'm always going to be fumbling about.
100%.
And lost in the world.
It's true, man. And the cost of self-mastery, I think it was like an Einstein quote I read the other day. And it's not the typical Einstein quote, but he was like on his deathbed and he said, I wish I read more of this person's work. And he was like, the cost of self-mastery is that when you actually achieve mastery, you have no time to enjoy it. And it's fucking true, like we spend a lifetime. This is our work as men is we can walk two paths. The one of leaving the best sculpture that you could ever leave behind.
Yeah.
When you think about legacy, I don't think a legacy is a Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk who have created greatness in the world. I think of what is the legacy with the people that actually fucking matter to me.
Yeah.
What would they say at my funeral?
Yeah. What is your being legacy? What did you become?
And it's that, you see yourself as Michelangelo creating the statue every day and that self-awareness. And I'm kind of in the process of building out something new business-wise just to get excited about it. And I'm like, what's my kryptonite? Like, what am I terrible at?
Yeah, of course.
What should I avoid at all costs?
And what do I not like?
Yeah, what do I do?
I fucking hate driving, so I don't drive.
There you go.
I hate TV, so I don't watch TV.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's simple, isn't it? When you know yourself deeply and intimately, then you're less likely to get caught up in the traps and trappings of life.
Yeah.
Running out of time.
Although I like sugar, but I wish I didn't.
Yeah. I know. Oh, man, I feel like we're just getting started on this topic.
Me too.
And I think even though this is a fairly punchy and short episode, I think the potency of staying around the truth and staying committed to the truth and actually finding a mentor and a coach who has the balls to lead you to the truth
100%
is the key critical thing. I have spent my time for the last 13 years helping people build their business. And now I help people lead themselves, because ultimately who leads the business is them.
Yeah.
And the business is an extension of the individual. And if you can't lead yourself, no tactic, no strategy, no fucking Facebook ad or Instagram ad will ever build the thing that you want to build if you can't get your own shit together.
Yeah. Yeah, because your wisdom keeper that is inside of you all the time watching you, he'll let you know when you're in alignment. And he'll constantly be tugging away at you when you're not in alignment, and you'll never be at rest. You'll never be comfortable in your own skin ever.
That's when
you're out of
addiction will
alignment,
start.
and that's what we spoke about in the beginning.
Yeah,
integrity with oneself. But again, it's a journey, isn't it? You have to understand who you are and who you're not. You have to then decide, or find out how to lead to give you the greatest sense of belonging, satisfaction, significant.
And we'll always be out of integrity. We're never going to be in integrity 100% of the time. And it's about restoring that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to have times where we get out of integrity with food, and we get out of integrity with exercise, and we get out of integrity with work and our relationship. And that's the practice of mind. Like, how can you pull it back? How can you bring it back? How can you keep restoring integrity?
Yeah.
John said, you're saying about the wisdom keeper, and it came up, and I wanted to circle back. When I was up in Mount Shasta, like 10 days ago or whatever, he's like, people pay for structure, and they're waiting for you to build your palace before they reward you with the gift of abundance.
Wow.
And I was like, so fucking true. Like, there are people waiting for you to step into your truth and power and the way in which you are capable. And you won't be rewarded with the riches of whatever that is, whatever currency you want that to be, love, money, wealth, whatever, until you actually get your shit together.
Yeah. One final thing that's coming up, Chris, because I know that we want this to be short and punchy, is about men's work. So I guess in different disguises, I've been in men's work for an awfully long time. First, as a rugby performance coach, and then the kind of mental skills and men's leadership coach and retreats and all that kind of stuff. And what I realized more than ever before, Chris, and it's going to be reflective in my future work. It's easy for people like me and you with a skill set to take a group of men and give them a sledgehammer, and for them to leave and think, "Fucking hell, I'm healed, I'm free." But that's a fucking trap. So my programs from now on, whether that's a one-on-one or whether that's with a group, it will be a journey, and it will have consistency, because that's what men need. So many men leave my retreats, and look, I used to think I had the best retreat in the world, and in terms of what you experienced on the last day and you've experienced it, it's like, oh my God, if only everybody in the world did this. But some of those men go fucking back to normal because there's no consistency. So as men, all these beautiful practices are great, embodied practices. I do think men benefit from a shock to the system, but we need consistency, repeatability. We need to keep showing up because it's easy to check out once we've had an experience.
Yeah, it's easy to drift, man.
And that's why you've been in a 2-year container.
Fuck, I'm in for another 2 years. At least.
Some of my one-on-ones now, they're with me for at least a year, some longer than that. And the same's going to happen with my group programs.
I could show you 15 clients that have invested collectively $1 million with me.
Yeah.
15 clients. And that's a testament to the depth at which I love being with clients.
Yeah.
It's not about the money.
Yeah.
But I thrive on long-term relationship and depth.
Me too.
Because I think, especially in today's world, for me, John is my teacher for the foreseeable.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lined up with them and I fucking love it. And I'm like, I'm in. And when we were in the desert, like last year, he was like, I stayed with David and some more than I should have. And because I was committed to the work, and he was like, find a teacher that you want to stick with for longer than you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've always been of that killed. And I think it's so important to, in today's world, when you've got Instagram shit going off everywhere and you've got this program and that program and this thing and that thing and this thing, we can jump around a lot. And I think find somebody that you fucking align with and invest in them for the longest period of time that you physically can.
I agree.
And that's where the change will happen. Change isn't going to happen in 8 weeks, in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
You might adjust some behaviors, but real change happens in 12 and 24 months, 36 months, 48 months.
Yeah. 100%. Here. And with that, I'm immensely looking forward to a 7-month program that I've created.
Beautiful.
Started in January the 15th. As you know, for the past couple of years, I've took men to Peru.
Yep.
On a retreat, a one-off 10-day retreat, but this time it's going to be part of a 7-month container.
Love it.
Starting on the 15th of January.
It's an amazing movement.
With our first Zoom. The 10-day retreat in Peru starts on the 26th of March, and then we've got beautiful 4 months of integration after it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love that. I think if I was to ever do that, I wouldn't do one-off shots anymore.
Yeah.
I think I do intro events, small events.
Yeah.
As an introduction to the work, and maybe it's a thing where people come and have an experience and they go, oh fuck, like this is.
Yeah.
But I think for real change, it requires the commitment of people.
Yeah.
When you've got a container, like if I don't show up for a call on one of group's John's call, we have to do a fucking video for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of containers. So fucking really look forward to that coming out, because I think that's going to be a game changer.
And in the next 3 years, I'm going to create a 3-year leadership school for men.
Come on.
Year 1, self-leadership. Year 2, leading others. Year 3, leading your team.
Nice. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What are you checking out with?
I'm checking out, loving the conversation, wanting to talk to you for hours. Maybe we'll do that at some stage. I'm checking out with a renewed passion for what it means to be a man. I love being a man. And checking out with a renewed, I'm all the time I'm leading, and sometimes I don't get opportunities like this to be asked questions about what it means to be a man, a good man, leadership, stuff like that. And so I'm finally checking out with a passion to be the best version of myself, to inspire other men, because as human beings, we can't become what we can't see.
Beautiful. What a beautiful place to end.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.